Welcome to CrackTalk.
Hey everybody, how you doing? And welcome back to this week's episode of Crack Talk. And boy, do we have a doozy today. Something that's on everybody's mind. I know it's on everybody. If you have children and they're in school, we are going back to school.
Yes.
Parents are loving it. And the kids are hating it. It is happening. And so we're going to talk today about what is it? What is it going back to school? How to get your kids properly prepared, Scott, so they're not dealing with some of the ailments that we're seeing right now, plagued in the chiropractic office. I mean, one thing that I want to be clear with everybody that we're talking to is we think kids, they don't hurt. They may not be expressing that they're in pain, having headaches, their spine hurts, because kids necessarily aren't supposed to hurt, right? They're resilient. They slip, fall, bump, bruise. They play sports, and they're supposed to come right back from it, and boom, shakalaka, they're off to it. But we're seeing a higher and higher prevalence rate each and every year with children. And children, let's qualify that, ages 5 all the way up to age 18, with headaches, with neck pain, with back pain, with low back pain, getting sciatica, getting scotomas because they're having some migraine headaches or tension type migraines. So we're just gonna be talking about that today. So first thing I wanna start with, Scott, you always have a little shout out that you like to give for everybody.
Well, I wanted to kind of give everybody a little explanation. We are trying our hand at Facebook Live for the first time this week.
We got the separate camera.
So you're gonna watch us looking at this camera, we're gonna be looking at this camera, so we're gonna try to figure this out. We always
work in progress.
Hey, we test everything, which we don't. So we're ripping into this.
We just do it.
So if somebody is on Facebook, if you see us live, you have a question, whatever, send it to us. I'm going to try to pay attention to that. But the main thing we want to do today, like I said, is kind of deliver a back to school boost. Yep. You know, with the kids going back to school right now as we're recording this, it's 1st of August next week here in Kentucky. We're going to have kids all going back to school. So we want to give you some pointers there. But if you guys are liking the information, if you guys are liking the content we're putting out, all that we ask is please subscribe to our channel. Therefore, you get notifications anytime we upload a new Crack Talk video. Like it. And also, if you know somebody, you may not have kids out there, but you know somebody that does, friend, family member that has kids, we're going to give you some vital information and tips and stuff to look at to be better prepared, to have your kids better prepared to have the most success going back to school. So subscribe, like, share, please.
Get after it. Make a comment. Ask us a question too, because we use the comments to find out what we're going to talk about next.
Yes.
So fantastic. And just for you Facebook Live people, this is how we do it. We want to first educate you. What's going on the planet right now with the topic that we're talking about. Secondarily, we want to inspire everybody that's listening that you don't have to live in pain and discomfort, and with the ailments that you're dealing with, there is hope.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that chiropractic care can be one of them. And the last one is our action steps. We want to give people actual deployable action steps that they can take into their life, that they can pursue and activate, and then start living a happier, healthy life doing the things that they love to do. So that's the premise of this Crack Talk. And we also like to take very unrelated topics. For you Crack Talk followers, you know we like to take unrelated topics. We talked about diabetes. We've talked about digestive problems. We talked about sleep. PTSD. You know, we're going to be hitting a little ADD, ADHD today. You know, unrelated topics, because most people educated-wise think, okay, chiropractors, neck pain, back pain, headaches. Okay, great. Yeah, we're fantastic at that. But there's a lot more underneath the rug, as they say, than just that. So let's start today. I always like to get a little preface. Is children with problems, is it really an issue? Well, here it is. Scoliosis, we've all heard it. You should have a straight spine from front to back like this. A scoliosis is any type of lateral deviation of over 1 degree up to whatever it is, from their normal straight spine. And this is severe, because when for every I want to say degree that you laterally move, it puts drastic amount of pressure on the muscles, ligaments, and tendons of the spine. Okay, and then also it directly affects the nerves, how they're able to innervate your body. Don't think it's a big deal. 2 to 4% of children from age 5 to 18 are diagnosed annually with scoliosis. Wow. Major issue. And I'm going to tell you this, what I see in the chiropractic office, Scott, is The ones that are not diagnosed.
Right.
The ones that when they're having and I want everybody to hear this, they're very good in schools of diagnosing if you have a really high shoulder or a winged scapula where your scapula wings out. They're really good at diagnosing that when they do the little thing and they have you bend down and touch your toes, right? Your body will react. That's if you have a thoracic scoliosis. If you have a lumbar scoliosis, lumbar spine is the low back. It will not show its ugly face. So we see a tremendous amount of kids are back pain, back pain, back pain, back pain. They come in here, they're like, well, they don't have scoliosis. They passed the test. We take x-rays because that's really the only viable thing you could see to actually see the spine.
Right.
And bam, they got scoliosis. So scoliosis, 2 to 4% of children are walking around with scoliosis that have been diagnosed. And I'm going to tell you what, it's probably double that walking around, if not more, that have not been diagnosed. So if you have a child that's kind of complaining about that stuff, take notice. You might want to get them checked out, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Headaches. This is the one, man, and Scott, we talk about this all the time. It has like shot through the roof. Tension headaches, stress headaches, migraine headaches, cluster headaches, you name the type of headache. 10 to 15% of children from age 5 to 18 are being presented and diagnosed with headaches in the medical profession.
Wow.
If we don't think that's a problem, and I'm telling you, we talk about a condition constantly in our cup of tea, which is text neck, which is due to all the screen time, the computer time, looking down all the time. So they don't have stats on actually the prevalence of text neck because it's kind of something that we all just made up. But 10 to 15% of children are walking around with headaches. That's a problem. Low to mid back pain. This has become one of the biggest stats as well. Kids are just hurting. And why? They're carrying heavy backpacks. They're playing competitive sports. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I'd say that is something that I have heard just more and more prevalent, because we've been in this game for a long time, 19, 20 years. So you think about it, from the time that you began till now, being a doctor, have you seen more of a prevalence in kids?
Oh, dude.
Young kids, and I'm thinking like under 12.
Well, dude, here it is. I just saw about 3 of them today. They're playing competitive sports. I just want to put this out there because I love competitive sports. Listen, I was training my kids to be Olympians, and we're just watching the Olympics right now to be Olympic-trained swimmers. We were going for 2020, then 2024, and then we might even look at 2028. But here's the deal. Younger and younger age group. I mean, dude, they're training kids at 5 years old on swim, wrestling.
That is true.
And they're carrying back. The other thing is, too, as you age up, the heavier the backpack gets. That's one of the biggest leading causes of mid and low back pain to our sports and backpacks.
Well, that's true, because I actually remember my nephews and stuff. I mean, they were young, playing on travel teams.
Oh, dude.
So, I mean, that is very true.
And I would say that's 15, 20, 30 years ago. Now these kids, I mean, my goodness, they're getting privates at 5 years old. They're lifting weights at 12 years old. And I love it. Listen, I endorse it. I want you to get after it, but you better be doing things to reverse that type of injury.
And then on the other side, we've talked about this before with the podcast, is chiropractic for kids. And we've talked about it on the headache one. And then also just kids and falls, bike wrecks, whatever, we talked about this.
Listen, I watch ridiculousness once in a while on MTV, and I'm telling you what, kids are doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, hey, well, with the onset of all this, we're doing podcasts and stuff, so kids are out there is like, hey, let me jump from this wall to this wall.
Let me do a flip
video
standing, and I can't do a flip.
And
they scorpion, that's what they call it. Yeah, that's really good for your spine, for everybody listening. If you scorpion, you might need to immediately get into the chiropractic office.
So more and more younger kids are coming in. You're seeing them coming into the office, and I have seen that just in my travels throughout, is just younger kids getting younger and younger, coming in needing and in pain, low back pain, and then this.
Constantly
sitting there. All our kids are watching with their heads bent.
Hey, as we're trying to fix the little kid's spine, they're watching screen time for 20 minutes while they're waiting.
Right.
And it's hard. It's hard. And listen, as parents, if you're listening to this, listen, I don't have a remedy for that.
Right.
All I can tell you is you need to get the kids under care, getting them adjusted, getting them taken care of, so that they don't have a higher prevalence rate of adulthood, early spinal degeneration, early arthritis, blown out disc in their neck and their low back. I mean, these are the kind of things that while we're having the podcast, why do kids need to be in the office?
to avoid.
It's so they don't become like me, man, where they're dealing with low back pain, or you like low back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. Anybody that has played any sports, even in our age group, we're hurting.
Right.
We're hurting, and these kids are hurting a little bit earlier, so they need to be getting into the chiropractic office. And there's a reason too, man, with sports, why every professional team, why the Olympics, they just posted that every Olympian has access to chiropractic care in Paris right now. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
We are at the forefront of helping professional athletes perform better.
Right.
And keeping them on the so-called field, whatever their field is. The field might be the pool, it might be a rugby field, it might be the gymnastics balance beam, whatever it is. But chiropractic is the forefront of that.
Yep.
But I want to switch gears. Let's go back to the other one I'm seeing. ADD and ADHD. This one just gets talked about non-stop when we start talking about kids going back to school. Mm-hmm. How do you handle all these kids, man? They're all loaded up on sugar, caffeine, and anxiety and depression and all this stuff. But they got ADD and ADHD, and I hear all this stuff. And here's what I'm going to tell you. I looked it up. 5 to 7% of children from 5 to 18 are diagnosed with ADD and ADHD every year.
Get that 5 to 7%, right?
Huge number.
Unbelievable.
And I would say this. Those are the ones diagnosed, so it's back to just like the scoliosis conversation.
How many are not?
How many are just wild men like I was, or wild little boys, or wild little girls, and they're just out there, they don't know how to get their wiggles out. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this when we talked about the childhood podcast. Usually when we have a kid that's severely ADD and ADHD, they are subluxated in their neck, they have a reverse curve or a flattened out curve, and their atlas, their first bone in their neck, is been flattened out. It's putting pressure on their central nervous system, not allowing their hormones and all the other elements of the body to fire properly.
Right.
So they are irritated. They have anxiety. You know, they have ADD, ADHD, whatever those symptoms are. Right. I mean, there's a laundry list of them,
yep.
Scott. So what do you do? How do you get your kids ready for back to school? Because that's kind of the premise.
Yeah. So what is a back to school boost? So what are some things? So you're a parent, what are things that we can look at?
I'm going to tell you, the first thing you got to do is evaluate backpack. So for Facebook listeners and for CrackTalk listeners, you got to evaluate backpack. I do like that our school here in Kentucky just eliminated backpacks. They're doing it for safety of the children, and they have to go to a clear bag that's, I think, only certain size. So the kids have to go back and forth between their lockers.
Wow.
Yes.
So what about this is high school. Do you know what about like
I don't know. I don't think so. It's specifically for high school because it's a safety. They're trying to remove drugs and all the other stuff out of schools. Wow. But it is an interesting thing because I'll tell you what, my son going to high school, his backpack weighed probably 45, 50 pounds.
Easy.
And here's the stat. How you should evaluate backpack is your backpack should not weigh, or your child's backpack, not yours. If it's your dude, same thing.
Hey,
should not weigh 10 to 15%
should not weigh more than 10 to 15% of your body weight. So for example, you weigh 100 pounds, you should not have a backpack that weighs over 10 to 15 pounds. Okay? If you weigh 50 pounds and a 50-pound kid is somebody that's in 3rd, 4th grade, they should not have a backpack that weighs more than 5 to 7.5. And if they're carrying a backpack bigger than that, and listen, my kids were swimmers. I'm going to tell you this, backpack, not just, I'm watching swimmers, we're talking about school, but I'm telling you, I've seen some athletes going to practice, their backpacks weigh 30, 40 pounds. Yeah.
They're wearing 2 bats, 3 pairs of cleats, 2 mitts, you know, if they're a baseball player. The swimmers, they got the board, they got the pool boy, they got their flippers, they got their whole bag. I mean, they're tracking through with this stuff. So not just when we're talking about backpacks, if your kids are strapping into any backpack, you need to evaluate it and make sure it is within the 10 to 15% of their body weight.
Put that thing on a scale.
Put it on a scale.
And actually,
put your kid on a scale, and then put their backpack on a scale.
When you were putting together this research, that was one thing I really wanted to get out there to everybody is backpacks. So a lot of times I will post blogs and topics and things like that on back to school with kids in backpacks. Because I remember my stepdaughter going, and I mean, she had 5, 6 books that she was carrying every night back and forth. If I would have weighed that thing, Jeremiah, I guarantee you that bag was every bit of 30 to 40 pounds. She was teeny tiny.
Teeny tiny. And what they're showing as the kids age up, the books get bigger because you're doing more complex.
Well, then you think about it. you strap that thing on. If it is that heavy,
Leaning
first
forward.
thing you're leaning forward.
Leaning
That
forward,
head's
kinda
up, I
weighted.
mean, you're just going. So
Yep.
now all of a sudden we go back to why are kids suffering with low back pain?
Backpacks are weighing, and a lot of them have went to virtual, or like, I don't want to say virtual, like virtual books. They're just carrying an iPad,
True.
or
Okay.
a Google tablet or whatever it is. So I've seen a lot of schools doing that. But kids that are doing accelerated stuff, calculus, history, you're not going to be able to do that with
Right.
just a standard tablet. All right, second one. How do you get your kid prepared? Ergonomics. And this is something you got to start, man, when they're peewees, starting like ergonomically looking at screens.
I've heard a beep. So how do ergonomics?
Go ahead.
Let me check
We're going to
something.
get a
We're
second.
gonna pause for a second.
Facebook Live, hold on a second. We got to check our other camera here.
All right, we're good.
We're still
We're still
good to go.
I
We're
heard,
still rolling.
I heard a beep.
I think it was back there.
Okay.
But here we go. So the second one, good break right there. Second one, ergonomics of screen time. And screen time does not phone. We're talking about phone, tablet, computer,
Yes.
or even studying books. I tell you, here's the deal. You take somebody that's got a phone, right? They're in this position. You got to get your kid's head up like this. You got to get the discipline. You see that? Eyes forward, my head's not forward, my head's not down like this. Start getting them to look like this. Same thing with the tablets, get them to hold them up, right?
Then
Same thing with the computer, getting the computer where they're properly ergonomic so they don't get carpal tunnel and they're not looking down. These are the little things that you can do because when you start this and you're looking down, you can look at the spine right there. You start getting that hump. Ladies, I mean, this is a big issue we're seeing with young girls right now. Because you start adding breast weight to that. So what'll happen is you're doing the screen, you're looking down, your shoulders are coming forward, your head starts going forward like this. So you're killing the curve in your mid back, you're killing the curve in your neck, and you're causing massive amounts of pressure on your spine.
Yep.
For instance, your head, an average adult head weighs about 8 pounds. As a child, it's probably about 4 to 6, right? And you got to think about a bowling ball. Is it easier to hold a bowling ball closer to your body or out like this? Yes, go ahead.
So,
and as your child is doing this rolled shoulders and their head's going forward like this, that's like the bowling ball moving out versus keeping them centered. So you got to really pay attention to your children and make sure ergonomically they are watching their screen time and watching their computer time to the best of their ability. Mm-hmm. Even if you can help them correct it 50% of the time, it's going to pay dividends over years.
So I was going to ask you, isn't there a calculation you can do? So your head, I guess, is supposed to be aligned with your shoulders, your ear, correct?
Center of your ear, center of your shoulder, center of your hips, center your ankle.
So for every inch,
yes.
So I want everybody to grasp this. So if you're here, every inch forward.
Doubles.
So is it what they say? It's a weight of like what, 10 pounds or
well,
something?
It doubles. Well, we can almost double. So if you go forward an inch, it can take an 8-pound head and make it feel like it now weighs 16 pounds. It's just leverage.
Yeah, so that's what we're saying.
Engineering.
And that's where we were talking about. If you take a bowling ball, so imagine for every inch forward, you might as well think about like an 18-pound bowling ball or something. You strap this harness over your neck and it's hanging
and you start handling like this,
all
it's heavy.
day.
Yeah.
Imagine that force. That's what's happening to your back of your neck.
Well, Scott, then you start thinking about the number one headache prevalence of the 10 to 15% of children are having is tension headache, which means it's coming from their neck, or shoulders, and going up. Well, that's because these trap muscles right here, Scott's got the big boys, right? A lot of kids, they don't have the big boys yet, so they got trap muscles that are screaming because they're holding out a head like this, and they're trying to get it pulled back like this. I really want that to sink in for everybody. So if you're letting your child just sit there, laid up against the couch is sitting here, and they're doing this, I'm telling you, if they're there for longer than 5 to 10 minutes, they are training now their muscles, ligaments, and tendons that this is a normal position for us to be in. And if you're doing that day in and day out and day in, I'm telling you what, you're reverse engineering the spine. We start getting what's called text neck, which the curve should be like this. It actually goes flat or it actually starts going the other way. Start stretching the spinal cord. Massive migraine type headaches, things start going. People get scotomas and they start seeing light flashes. And they're just sick. They get what we call classic migraine headache. Tension headache, as soon as we get that adjustments going and we start retraining their spine to hold their head over their spine, it's like magic, clockwork. This stuff starts going away. But then we have to reinforce. Hold your screens here. Not here. Hold them up here so you can prevent that type
when
of
you're
issue.
working on laptops, anything
Yep.
like that, hold shoulders back. 'Cause
Shoulders
this
back,
is my
yes.
worst thing is I roll shoulders forward like this and
Yep,
slouch.
we all do. That's why you've got to be stretching your pec muscles right here.
Yep.
Because it's easy. Weightlifters do this. Kids that are also going in and lifting a lot of weights, boys love to hit the bench press. Let me tell you something. They be loving to hit that bench press
Yep.
and what do they say? Curls for the girls
Yep.
or something like that. They got to get they got to bring the gun show, right? So they'll go in there and they'll hit that bench press. They do nothing for their bank. So next thing you know, they're like this. Now they got numbness and tingling in their arms. They come into my clinic. Their parents think they have a blown out disc or something. It's like, no, it's called thoracic outlet syndrome.
Yep.
We got to get your shoulders rolled back so the blood and the nerve flow
So think
can get
about
out to
everything.
your arm.
Think about everything we've talked about. So everything that we do here, and you think about it, everything compounds on itself. So
100%.
it's not just one or the other or the other. So we've talked about text neck. So we got this going on. So
Which is created over years
Yes.
of abuse.
So we got the reverse curve. Let's just say we've got some situations where they are an athlete or they're training
Yep.
and they're working their pecs or they're working on a laptop all the time. So we got rolled shoulders, we got a reverse curve in the neck,
Yep.
plus we threw on a 35, 40 pound backpack, which they're
Which
straining
causes the rolled
close through,
shoulders
you
in
know.
the same
So I mean,
situation.
and it is like, so this
Yeah.
goes back to my question, why in the world are we seeing kids younger and younger and younger coming into the chiropractor? Well, Jay, they're going back to school.
They're going back to school and they're getting wrecked. And the challenge is a lot of parents don't believe them.
No.
Because kids complain about everything in the first place.
Yeah.
Anybody that's had kids like mine, they
Well,
complain about everything.
Well, you know, and it's like if a child comes up to you and says, "Oh, Dad, you know, I've got back pain, my back hurts," and you're like, "Come on, you're too young to have
You're
back
10 years
pain."
old. What are you doing, man?
You're
Or
not
you're
supposed to have
14
back
years
pain.
old. Get over it.
Yeah.
You didn't lift any heavy bricks today. No, they've been lifting that heavy backpack for about 10 years. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a huge problem.
So first one, backpack management.
Yep.
Second one, ergonomics. The third one, scoliosis evaluation. I cannot tell you how many scoliosis evaluations we do in our office, just taking a young child that's having some situation and we say, hey,
Yep.
let's take an x-ray of them. Because you can't really diagnose a scoliosis until you have a plain film x-ray that shows what we talked about, that lateral deviation of 1 up to 50 degrees, or it could be 60 degrees, which is really, really bad. Usually after about 15 to 20 degrees, they're looking at potential surgery. But I will tell you, we've been able to take kids with that level of scoliosis, when I'm talking about level of scoliosis, 25 to 35, and bring them back to a 15 to 20, doing some adjustments and some mirror imaging adjustments, some specialized stuff in our clinics. And then we can get them to where they don't have to get the slit down their back, Scott.
Right.
The Harrington rods put in, which would they freaking staple a steel bar to prevent. And why do they do that? Most people don't understand. Oh, well, they just don't want it to get worse. The reason they do that, because if that scoliosis gets too bad, it will start collapsing your lungs, collapsing your heart, collapsing your digestive tract.
Yeah.
The child will die. So it is a saving grace if they take a child that has over a 35-degree scoliosis and they're watching the prevalence of that get worse year after year. Usually they're evaluating about every quarter to 6 months if they're that bad. Is it getting better? Is it stabilizing? Or is it getting worse?
Right.
If it's getting worse, I'll tell you what, they're going to be rushing them in there to the OR to get these people operated on.
Yeah.
So you put that rod in there so that 35-degree scoliosis doesn't go to a 50, which could be an absolute death sentence.
Oh, and I say we've seen some x-rays, I mean, of some serious curves.
I had a patient in here today. She literally has probably the worst spine I've ever seen. And she's probably at about a 45 to 60 degree in her mid back and her low back. And she's walking around. And I'm going to tell you this is what's amazing about our bodies. We're so strong. And our bodies are so adaptable to that, even on a 45 to 60 degree scoliosis with osteoporosis, with degenerative arthritis, because she was about 78 years old only, walking around with this type of scoliosis. She's still upright, still walking. Yes, she's having pain and discomfort, but she's still moving through life. She hasn't allowed it to own her. She has kind of owned it, but she does come in once a week. She's a once a weeker right now. We're keeping her, as good as we get. Let me tell you what, when you have somebody like that as a chiropractor, and for all you chiropractors that may be listening, there's not a lot you can do. You're just doing the best job you can.
Right.
I mean, I'm just going to put that out there.
Right.
The last one, after getting your spine checked and get your kid x-ray, I'm telling you this, every child should be checked by a chiropractor to see if they have some type of spinal misalignment called a subluxation. or gross subluxation, scoliosis, reverse curve of the neck? Do they have any of these things occurring in their spine that at their age, man, if you can get on it, easily correctable versus waiting until they're my age, 46, going on 47 soon. Scott, your age, even in their 30s, even in their 20s, because I'll tell you, kids heal fast, and that's one of the just the magical things about children between the age of 5 to 18 is they respond quickly.
Right.
But I also don't want to discredit 0 to 5 years old. I saw 3 children today that are 4 months old, 2 months old, and 6 months old. And their parents are just laser focused.
Right.
My child is not going to have the spinal issues or the headache issues and the things and stuff that I have. So they're getting it done early, man. We're out of the womb, adjusting them and just, hoping a prayer that they're not going to have it. We're going to make sure that they don't have the spinal ailments.
Right.
Now, they could have a car accident, Scott.
Right.
They could play sports.
Yes.
These are the things that, exist in our lives, and we just don't know that with that force that's put into the body, how it's going to affect us. And usually when you have that trauma, bam, you're going to have a subluxation. If you don't get that subluxation, which is a bone out of place, 1 to 5 millimeters left, right, up or down in your spinal segment, that puts direct pressure on your nervous system. When that happens, if it's left untouched, whatever organ that nerve is going to is going to go into a diseased state.
Right.
And the joints in that area are going to have early onset of degenerative arthritis. You can't prevent it. So why would you wait for any of your children to wait until they have pain, right?
Right.
Or if they do have pain, get them in here. And if they're not able to do the things that they want to do, get them in to see a chiropractor to see if they have something lurking about in their spine that needs to be handled by this profession.
Right.
And here's what it's a great thing about our profession. If somebody comes into our office and it's not something, Scott, that I can handle. Let's say it's not subluxation, not gross subluxation, it's not a ligament, tendon, muscle related issue. It's something greater than that. We will refer you out. We deal with that. We see people with cancer, fractures, dislocations. That is not something in our office that we deal with.
Right.
So if your kids are dealing with that kind of stuff, we can evaluate it and then make sure we land you in the right place. But I can't say enough about getting a referral in your community for a great chiropractor to come in to the office, bring your child into the office and get their spine checked, and make sure they have the greatest opportunity in life to live a pain-free life and a happy life where they can do the things and stuff that they love. And they can perform at the top level, man.
Right.
I mean, we already did a whole thing about Tom Brady gets adjusted, Michael Jordan gets adjusted. Jerry Rice gets adjusted. He actually led one of the chiropractic foundations. These top performers use chiropractic as their special sauce.
Yeah.
Why not have it for your children if it's accessible?
Right.
So Scott, that's all I got today. I'm back to school. Did you want to have to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of recap them for a back to school boost. Your kids are starting school, like I said, in Kentucky, it's next week. So weigh backpacks, pay attention.
Weigh the kid, weigh the backpack.
Yeah, they go to school the first day, they come home, they've got all their stuff. If they've not made provisions and you feel like, man, how much does your child weigh? And let's say, 10 to 15% of their body weight.
15% of their body weight, no more.
Is what that backpack should weigh.
And their athletic bag. I keep wanting to sneak that one in there. And their athletic bag.
That is huge, because I think back my football bag was.
Oh my God! Get it on rollers. Get it on a roller bag or something.
So we want to look
then
at
ergonomics
backpacks.
on screen time.
Are they researching on their computer, phone, all that, or heads down? Are we up?
Get them up.
Roll them shoulders back. So just pay attention to the ergonomics.
And help them. Children need to be coached through this, and they will respond favorably. The next one was scoliosis screening.
If you have not had your child checked for scoliosis, and there's issues with back pains and things, it's never a bad thing to get checked for that. Like you said, getting a plain X-ray.
Usually all insurances cover it. You bring your child in, we do a full consultation, full eval, whether they have pain or not. And boom shakalaka, we're going to take X-rays of the spine. We're going to see what's lurking about. Hopefully nothing.
Yeah, and then have your child's spine checked by a chiropractor in your area. Because if you think about it, everything that we've talked about right now, everything compounds on top of itself.
Yep.
So imagine if they do have a slight scoliosis or something going on, they're carrying a heavy backpack, their head's bent forward, we're sitting there with, shoulders rolled forward, and we're throwing a big heavy backpack on. I mean,
Scott,
this is a recipe.
What you keep saying
pain.
too, it is a recipe because it's not going to hurt them that day.
No.
What we're looking for is in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from
20
then,
years, whatever.
in 20 years, it could have wrecked half havoc on their spine. So I just want parents to understand, you guys have the authority. Pick up the phone, call a chiro, get a referral, get into the office, do these things.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't say enough. If you're a parent, you're helping handle all these, you are light years ahead of your peers, and you are setting your child up to live the happiest, healthiest, most productive life possible. Well, there it is, Scott. That's our Crack Talk for this week. Shipping your kids off to school and back to school protocols on how to make sure your kid launches from home back into school the most successful as possible. You always like to everybody to what?
Hey, if you like the content that you're hearing that we're putting out, subscribe to our channel. We do these every week.
Yep.
Every time, if you subscribe, you will get notifications every time that we upload a new Crack Talk video. So if you like it, subscribe, like the video, and if you know somebody that has kids or that could use this information, please share it. That's how we're going to grow.
And make a comment. We love to hear comments. We endorse comments. It also helps us navigate what topic to pick up next. All right, everybody, have a great week, and welcome to Crack Talk. You guys have a good one.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.